Hey, everybody, it's Andy with My Side of the Fence podcast, and I am here with Dayna-Marie Miles, right?
Yes.
She is an elected member of the Manassas City School Board. When did you get elected?
I got elected November last year.
Last year?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got, 8 months in, 9 months in, something like that. But first, we always try and start with, how did you end up here? Did you grow up in Manassas, or?
So I didn't grow up in Manassas, but I've lived here since 2013 in the area. And I grew up in Reston, so I'm not far.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Northern Virginia brat, as we always call ourselves.
Yeah.
So we lived 30 minutes from D.C. My dad worked in D.C., so my parents consider themselves Washingtonians. So my mom and dad both. Yes.
And the
Not many of
Washingtonians
those.
are like y'all from the outer bands.
Right. And all my family lives in Maryland. That's where majority of my family live and reside. Some people have moved outside of that area, but when we have family functions, we're in Maryland. So
Right. So then when did you move to Manassas?
So I moved to Manassas to actually start a job as a teacher in public school.
Oh.
My sister-in-law actually was born and raised in Manassas, and she was working at in Manassas Park, and I was trying to get a student teaching position, and she helped me get that. So I started my education background in Manassas Park at Cougar Elementary. Shout out to Cougar Elementary teachers and staff. Love that place. But yeah, that's where I started. And I was able to get my foot in the door there. I'm a second career teacher, so I needed to, kind of find my way.
Oh, what did you do to begin with?
So before, when I got out of college, I have a bachelor's in writing, and so I worked in news, ironically enough.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did that for about 3.5 years. I worked on Capitol Hill and with all kinds of news stuff. So
Cool.
back when Hurricane Katrina was going on, I remember that. And then when our former President Bush was elected with John Kerry going against him, I was during those campaigns, and so those were in my 20s. But then I stopped that career, and I became a full-time mom, and decided to turn towards education and went back to school, and that's
So
kind
were you
of
in the city when all that went on?
so no,
You're still in Reston.
I was still, so when I started my career out of college, I was in Reston, living with my parents, and then I stayed there until I got married. And I moved to Maryland. And so I stayed in Maryland, Hagerstown, Maryland, which is similar to Manassas for about 8 years. It's a very similar town. And so when we moved to Manassas, I think our family was kind of like, oh, this is similar to what we've been living in and everything, just small town. And just everybody knows everybody, people have lived here for years. And but I loved that atmosphere. We got connected to a church really quickly, Manassas Baptist, and we've been going there since my son was 2, and I was active in the community, working with teaching English as a second language, and also with the children's ministry there. So I think that kind of helped me get to know a lot of people in the community, because I was kind of sort of an outsider at first, but learning that community, which is such an old one, that kind of helped as well, because a lot of the people at Manassas Baptist were, they've been there for years, so
That's like one of the OGs, I feel like.
It is. And I loved the community work they were doing. And so I was just kind of a part of that. They had a really thriving community before a COVID happened, where they opened up their doors to teach English as a second language to a lot of the immigrants that were coming in throughout the years. When COVID happened, though, they had to stop, and they were kind of changing hands and trying to figure out how can we do this online. So I started helping them do that online, and we kind of got that up and running. And so we did that for a couple years, and then we started reaching out beyond our church to teach English as well, and partnering with other communities to bring English. So that's kind of how I feel like I got involved in the Manassas community. I was also a teacher in the community, so people knew me that way. But I feel like here everyone was so welcome, because even though I wasn't born and raised here, everyone that I met, like whether you went to Old Town, or you're at your church or you're in the community, everyone was just so friendly. So,
Right.
yeah.
So are you still teaching?
I am. So I work with Prince William County schools. I'm teaching at Westgate, which is 5 minutes down the road from, we're like right on that line where Manassas City meet and Prince William.
Right.
So I can get to work in 5 minutes, which is nice. But the wonderful thing about the school that I do work at, is that it has the same demographic that I'm used to. So I loved working with students who their first language is not English.
Right, it's very diverse.
It is very diverse.
Yeah.
So, and that community there was just so small. And so I've gotten a chance to get to know them. And Prince William has been a good experience too. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
So how did you allow yourself to be conned into running for office?
Oh my goodness. So
This is always a great story.
So this is a great story. I will say a shout out to Sarah Brescia, who is currently on the school board as well. We go to church together, and we would talk a little bit about what she was doing on the school board. She would bounce ideas off of me, and then we started talking a little bit more. She was like, we're really looking for some people to run for school board. Come and check us out and see what you think. So I thought about it, and at first I was like, I don't know if I can add this to my list, because I didn't tell you I've got 3 kids too. So
Yowza.
I do have. So we had a busy schedule already, and I was like, I don't know. And then working with my church and everything. But then as I started like really praying about it, and like, okay, I'm a really strong woman of God, and I was like, okay, I really need to think this through. Is this going in the direction of what I want for my future? And it was. When I would talk to my friends and family, they're like, oh my goodness, that's definitely what you should do. I was like, are you guys sure? Are you guys leading me in the right direction? But at first it was very scary because I had never run for office. Of course I had reported the news. I love politics and I love the news, and I'm an avid supporter of whoever I think I'm going to vote for.
Right.
I never was siding with one political side. I never did. That was just not the way I was taught, right? So that was different for me, because I was like, oh, so you have to kind of like, you have to be supported by one side. And that was a little different. But as I got to know the people that wanted to support me, I was like, wow, we believe in the same things. We have the same goals. Yes. And my son, I had just moved to Manassas City 2 years prior. And my son had started to go to the local school. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted him to have neighborhood kids that he knew. And when I was teaching at Manassas Park, my kids went with me because I worked there.
Right.
But when I moved, I was like, I want him to kind of he was a little younger. And so I thought this would be a great way for me not only to kind of keep an eye on what's going on with my son's school, but also to help other families who may, have some concerns. And so having the teaching background that I had, the community service background, and then just wanting to do good for people, that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. You know what? You don't know if you're going to win. No. Everybody knows that, right? Yeah. But I did everything within my power to figure out how I could, and I gave it my all. That's all I can say.
Did you have to campaign a lot? Did you have to knock on doors?
So I knocked on doors. It was funny because usually I was one of those friends that when I didn't have my kids, I was with my friends. We were, having fun. I couldn't do that. They were like, Dayna, where are you going? I was like, I'm knocking on doors every weekend, every Saturday, after church on Sunday, during the week before the sun went down. I was knocking on doors. Yeah. And it was a lot. But I knew that I listened to those who had gone before me, who had been successful, and I used what they had learned, and I tried to take that and get that advice, and I used it. And they were like, knock on doors, do this, do that, and that's what I did. So.
It helps you, knocking on doors really helps you refine your message. You get in front of people and you give them your spiel, and you can see immediately, like, they wrinkle their nose a little bit, or you can tell either they are with the program or they're neutral.
Right.
A lot of times people don't know anymore. We don't have a local paper. So I felt like a million doors when I ran for office, and I went through like 3 pairs of shoes. It was brutal, but it helps you craft that message that it helps you compress it, boil it down, and make it like, this is what I want to do. Okay, well, I'll think about that.
Right.
Instead of like the first door I knocked on ever, that lady, she was a lovely, lovely older woman. She invited me in, and we sat on her back porch, and she fed me about a gallon of iced tea. My face was completely sunburned, and I got out of there. It took me like 40 minutes, and I thought to myself, how on earth am I supposed to get to 1,000 doors or whatever? Right. And I told at the time, I guess Hal was the vice mayor. I told him that story, and he laughed at me. He was like, "Boy, you have to get 3 minutes, 4 minutes. That's it. Get the lit in their hands, answer a couple of questions, bounce."
Right.
And
that was hard, especially if you're a talker, right? Yeah.
It's really tough.
It is.
So you got elected, and is it a weird thing to be like on the school board and a teacher? Does it make you like more than a little crazy? Because I feel like for me it would.
I would say that I see it from a different lens, because I do want to support staff and teachers probably more than any of. I'm not, no shade against anyone, but anyone that has been a teacher and knows what those teachers are going through and are living it every day, you do have a different lens that you look at.
Right.
But what I've learned is, because we are a collective body.
That's right.
That's something that you don't think about that when you're running.
No, not at all.
You don't. You're like, no, this is what I think, and this is what I believe, and everything. And yeah, you do believe those things, and yeah, you do want to, get your message across. And hey, I think we should do this or that. But at the end of the day, you have to think about what everyone collectively thinks is the direction that we're going to take. So that has been. It has been a challenge, but I'm navigating it well, I feel like now.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. I ask everybody a version of that question. Like Mike Perez, he's a family doctor who's been in Manassas forever. He's a buddy of mine. I asked him to come on, and we were talking, and I said, does it make you crazy when people come in with a printout of some internet site and they're like, this is what I have? And he said, yes. I tear it up, I throw it away, and then we have a discussion.
Right.
And I said, well, I asked because I actually did that with my doctor. And, I had I don't even remember what it was. And I was Googling, and, I ended up on WebMD, and I printed it out. And it was some horrible, rare, cancer of the ear or something that's fatal in 15 minutes. And I handed it to her, and she just rolled her eyes. She did the same thing. Tore it in half and threw it in the trash can.
Right.
She's like, have you been to Africa lately? And I'm like, no. She's, well, you don't have this.
Right. It is very funny. I mean, I feel like, too, though, it's great to have different perspectives.
Sure.
Because we have so many different perspectives on the board right now. But having someone who represents a teacher's perspective, we have admin on the board, we have a parent. I mean, you know what I mean? So we have so many different perspectives, and I feel like it is really good because we have great discussions because of it. Let's say that. Great discussions. They're meaty. They're not surface level. And so we really get in there and really talk about what we think we should do or what we shouldn't do. And I have been, I feel like it has been a great experience because of that.
Yeah.
So.
You see yourself like running in 4 more years? Or?
I do. I believe that there's a place for me in 4 more years, and I'm hoping that the other people will think the same.
Agree.
I do. Especially since my son, he's only 12.
Oh,
so
okay.
Right. So I have, about 6 more years before he graduates. So I feel like having that, also being a parent and having a parent in, a student in the schools.
It's a good viewpoint. Yeah.
It is a good viewpoint.
So are your other children younger?
So I have 2 older girls. Okay. So my oldest just graduated, and she is going to Shenandoah University.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And then my other daughter, she has 2 more years. So yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So the kind of time. I do. Yep. I know. I can't. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I have an 18-year-old.
Oh. I have a 27 or 28-year-old.
So you understand.
Tell me. Yeah.
You understand. Yeah.
I mean, we only have the one, but she's graduated from college. She's married, and she lives just out near George Mason, and it's it's different.
It is.
when your last kid, in our case, our only kid, leaves for school, it's a big change.
It is.
And but it's a lot different. I graduated from Longwood in '89,
oh, wow.
and Yeah, we didn't have cell phones. If your parents called, they called the hall phone. That was a disaster. It's a hall full of, 18-year-old boys. Nothing's happening. So it's a lot different. And, when my daughter left, we could track her, right?
Right. You knew exactly where she was.
100% I did. And we were very transparent about that. There was no mystery. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. And I said, okay, well, you can buy your own phone and pay for it yourself.
Yep.
Oh, well, maybe tracking's not so bad.
Right. Once they see the tag.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
So, one of the things that, for me, I came in the door for city council with an armful of ideas, and everybody is self-righteous and the people have spoken and
right.
you're going to, and, I ran head on into the city budget process. And back then, basically the budget process was, 2 or 3 binders, one of which was a line item printout of the city budget.
Oh my goodness.
They had 18 meetings, I think, for the budget, and 2 of them were full Saturday meetings. And working with another guy who was elected the same cycle as me, we got those canceled. But how's the budget cycle been for you?
I will say it was tough because we came in kind of at the end of it. So we only were able to really understand the end process.
Right.
As opposed to coming up with ideas and saying, hey, we want to add this or hey, we want to add that. So, but I think we are going to be ready as far as like our newcomers, the 3 of us, to maybe give some ideas so they can be added. But I will say that everyone was very accommodating and explaining things to us. All the questions that we had were answered. And I do feel like when we voted, we felt confident in what we voted for. But like you said, you have these ideas. Oh, well, that has a ticket price to it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't snap your fingers and it happen. So just understanding the process and how you get to what you want or what you want to even introduce has been a learning curve for me. So
do you feel like and I'm not asking you to talk out of school, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the leadership helps to enable you on that? And I'll tell you my story before that. And my answer is no. Because I came in and the city was on the cusp of several like the VRE parking deck. Mm-hmm. I wanted to vote against it. I don't like it. And, we had a work session, and at the end of it, Mayor put the hook on me and said, come here, new guy. Listen to me. You're voting for this, okay? Because we have spent way too much time, and this is an incredible opportunity for the city. I understand you don't love the money part, but this is progress. Mm-hmm. And, he was kind enough to say, and I would appreciate your vote. But, that's kind of like, a lion looking at a little, warthog or something and saying, I appreciate your help on this.
Right.
But I would say that for the stuff that's like has momentum and I didn't love it, I was not really enabled much. But some of the ideas I came in, I didn't appreciate when I was first elected how much I really need the working as a body thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't appreciate that at all. Mm-hmm. So I got a lot of pushback. But once I started to understand working as a body, it got easier. Mm-hmm. What was your experience kind of like that?
I would say that my experience was like that. I will say that leadership in general I feel like they did explain it to me in the beginning. But you can have something explained to you until you have it in action. It's totally right. Because then when you introduce something, you're like, it has to go to a committee. But I introduced this. How come I'm not? Right. So that was different for me because I'm like, okay, well, when is the committee going to push this through? When are we going to talk about this? What are we going to? So in the back of my mind, because I'm an action person, I'm one of those people, and having your own classroom is different. Because you can do everything yourself. Sure. You don't have to ask, you're just doing it. Right. So, and being in leadership positions, in the community and stuff, it was different for me. So I will say that was difficult. Yeah. But we have work sessions now, which we didn't have before. Oh, we didn't. And apparently it was very difficult to present an idea. I guess I don't want to say difficult, but it wasn't as easy as it is now. So we have what we've been trying to do. It is very good. If you have an idea, we do a work session. Try to do it once a month, and we give our idea or whatever we want to discuss to our clerk. Then she compiles it into our agenda, and then we share at our designated time during
and it automatically goes onto the agenda.
So because it's a work session. So it I know, right? Right. Wow. On the work session agenda.
Dude, You're
like, where is this?
Yeah, I don't. So on the city council side now, I don't know what it's like now.
Right.
I try and keep my brain out of that stuff. But for us, that would have been almost like just walking something on the agenda, and that was a hanging offense. Now, walking something on the agenda is just saying, like, during your individual time to speak to the public, like, I propose, and the mayor would shoot you.
Oh, right.
But we
couldn't do that.
We certainly didn't have regularly scheduled work sessions just as an open discussion for new ideas. You would have to go probably meet with the mayor first, and then the balance of the council members. You can't leave anybody out. And then maybe you could get, they would, so on council, they would, if it had to do with, like, hey, look, I think there's this piece of land that we already own, and maybe we should make like a park out of it. And they'd be like, okay, well then let's put it on the land use committee. But we did not have like a freewheeling thing like you guys have. That's pretty cool.
It is, and I'll let me explain just a little bit better. Because what happens is with our work session once a month, we can say there's for an example, I wanted to do a town hall for the community to be able to share comments and stuff. So I gave that as an idea. And then as a collective board, we have to say, do we agree with letting that go to a committee, or are we really not interested in that? And so that's fair. Yeah. But at least it's a sounding board for you to share. And it also prevents us from doing during our regular work sessions, or our regular meetings, putting it there.
And those are just business meetings. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that.
They don't get that. I didn't get that.
We're here to talk and vote, and that's what we're doing.
Right. And that was something, I think the reason why we created the work session is because people were concerned that as a board, we weren't really allowed to share like ideas off the cuff or things that we were really concerned about. Right. And so this was a great way to be able to do it, but kind of streamline it. And then it kind of goes to wherever. Sometimes we'll get our answer right then because maybe it's just a question, or sometimes it says, oh, well, maybe the certain committee can talk about that. And that's what ended up happening. And then, or maybe we make a discussion there and okay, why don't we put it on the agenda for next week or for the next, meeting. So that's kind of how we've done it. And I've enjoyed that because it helped me as a new person to feel free to share.
Right. Well, I mean, that is pretty cool. When I was first elected, another thing I didn't appreciate was that, the staff is there, like, they're your experts. And if you come up with some idea, it's okay to talk with them about it. I mean, you need to keep everyone else in the loop.
Right.
Do not have a meeting with a staff member or city manager to know about, or you're going to hear about it. But, and I didn't appreciate that initially, but the staff, when I was in office, they were a lot of help, because I wanted to quote unquote do things, right? And they, a lot of time, there was still a fair amount of inertia. And so the initial answer was normally like, well, we're not so sure about that. And I would be like, I'm going to press this. Okay, so how can we get it done? And once they understood that, they were super helpful. The answer wasn't always yes, but they were a lot of help. And frankly, I should have engaged them earlier. But yeah, that's a thing.
I will say that's something that I'm still learning, is to have more conversations with the staff and even visiting classrooms, because as a teacher, it was very difficult in my first 6 months to be able to go and visit classrooms. My goal, though, starting in the beginning of the school year, is to make a point, because I had taken off some days just for campaigning. So it was tough to be able to do that again. So my plan is to just get in the classrooms and really get to know our teachers and our admin. But one thing I will say, the way that it's worked so far is like the superintendent has been so helpful. Like if we ever have any questions,
What's his name?
Dr. Newman.
Dr. Newman, yes. I think that he was the superintendent down at Colonial Beach.
Yes.
Previous to coming here.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's been nice because he has been very open to any questions we have. We can email him, we can call him, and he's really quick to respond. So that's been, like you said, with the staff, my way to connect. But I know that I'm hoping in the future I'll be able to connect even more with like some of the other staff members.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm learning that, and it's tough because, there's so many little pieces that you're learning. Oh. So in order for you to hit the ground running and know everything at the same time is impossible, Well,
and plus for you, it's probably 10 times worse because you have all of these crazy, requirements from Richmond, from Washington, and the council doesn't. We have to comply with the law,
right?
But we don't also have ever-changing regulation coming from Richmond. Well, we're going to require a personal finance class. Okay, well, you're going to send some money for that, right? No. Or just other things, what you're teaching or what you're required to teach. It's just, that seems like an armful.
It has been. I will say, as the teacher side, I think all teachers are feeling it, especially elementary school, because we had to take a special training in order to implement the curriculum that they wanted us to have. But I think moving on with this new year, I think everyone will be more prepared because we kind of had the learning curve with learning like the science of reading and having to do, and everyone in Virginia had to do that. So I feel like all of us are kind of starting at ground zero. Now, year 2, we feel a little more confident, in it. So
how many of you guys are like, when I was a kid, they just taught everybody, from a book, and we did things on a chalkboard, and everyone seemed to survive. Why can't we do that? Does that ever come up?
It does, especially for our teachers who've been teaching more than 20 years.
Right.
They want to kind of stay in their same. But I feel like everyone needs sprucing up in their teaching.
Yeah.
You know what? You have to.
It's professional development.
It is. And our kids have changed. That's the thing. We need to rise to that occasion, because I think if we teach, like 10 years ago, kids were different than they are now.
Oh, 100%.
So I feel like, that being said, they need new things. And then our COVID kids, they experience different things. And I think that the science of reading has been a great way to make sure everyone understands how to teach reading the same way.
Right.
Not one school district doing it this way and another school district doing it that way. Right. So,
that's just, that sort of stuff. That would make that regulation, that would make me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, on the city side, it changes occasionally. And the General Assembly, when they're in session, it's the most dangerous time of the year, right?
Yes.
But and I love our reps, but I had Ian on here about a week ago.
I saw that.
Ian's always, he's an easy hang, right? I've served with him for a while. We have policy disagreements, but generally we get on pretty well. But yeah, it's the toughest time of the year for local government and schools and stuff like that, because it never stops changing. So what about when I was on council, I say that a lot and I hate it, but the schools and the city had a revenue sharing agreement where the schools automatically got 57%-ish of the city budget. And right as I was getting ready to go off, the schools kind of started raising hell about, like, we want to get rid of this. And I agreed with them. But then, some of the guys that have been on council longer said, let me explain what this looks like to you. If you get rid of this thing, you can be prepared for your public hearings, your budget hearings, to be completely packed. And people will send their little kids to the lectern to speak, and you're stealing money from me. How has that experience been for you guys?
From the outside looking in, because obviously I wasn't there when that happened.
Sure.
I wish we had kept it because now we have to fight for our unfunded priorities.
Right.
And if they don't give us the right money, we have to hope and pray they give us what we need, and so we can give our teachers their raises and and the other things that we need. So I think in hindsight, maybe that could be a talk in the future. Because I know Prince William has one, and so they don't really they don't really have to worry about it as much as we do, and if we had it, then that would kind of be like a safeguard, so we know, okay, this is what we're able to do, and then any extra money we get from the state, if it comes, then we can allocate it differently. But because we don't have that, it does bring a lot of people saying, well, we should be doing this and we should be doing that. And you get a lot of people talking, a lot of opinions. It is tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is people arguing either side, they're probably all right. And that's the problem with that thing. Because even though we were like, here's your pile of money, the schools would be like, well, but we need this more. And the council could fund it if they want to, and we frequently did.
Right.
But, it was never everything. Right. And that's just kind of the way
it's just the way it is. Right. And it is tough. But I will say, when you look at what the city is saying, like city residents, schools are like number 2 priority. I think and it has been for the last couple of years. So because of that, it is important. We know this, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the city schools, like performance-wise, have struggled for a long time. And I did a fair amount of research on this, trying to come up with some way to help the schools. Because I'll be honest with you, if our schools were in the top 25% in the state, I wouldn't be able to afford to live in the city. It would be so expensive.
It's true.
And for here, like I've run this business, I run an IT business for 25 years. And the guys that work for me, well, the guys, half of them are women. If at some point they tend to be younger, coming into IT,
right.
They meet somebody, they get married, and they're usually living close, right? And as soon as the woman gets pregnant, they move, to Gainesville, Loudon, places like that, because they're concerned, right? And I did a lot of research about like trying to figure out like what can the council as an elected body do to help? And the answer is it's complicated.
It is complicated.
Educational outcomes seem like, and I'm no expert, you know a hell of a lot more about this than I do. They seem like they are closely tied to like income at the family level,
It's. I will say we have some great teachers. We have some great administrators.
I'm not impugning the staff.
And right. And it's tough because our population is predominantly. We have a 43% population of ESOL learners, which is they're learning a language as a second language.
Right.
So that impacts their test scores, and everyone knows this. We have that, and we do have our poverty rates and stuff in our schools. But I feel like we're on the up and up, because if you look at our scores, and we actually had it show the VALS scores, which is our new litmus test. Instead of PALS, they use VALS to show students' improvement in their reading. We did phenomenal.
That's good.
Yes. So I feel like the next generations that are coming in, they're, like I said, with the science of reading, they're being taught a different way. And I feel like it's going to be new. And so I feel, I want to say this, stick it out with our schools. Don't leave our schools. We are doing whatever we can to make sure the kids get what they need. We have awesome programs, great sports programs. The schools are doing so much better. We have some new leadership for our high school. She's now going into her second year. Metz as well has had some great improvement. She's going into her second year as the head. And so I notice a lot of influx of change.
Right.
And so I think that the things that have been said in the past are going to start being just the past and not a continuation. They do have a new program in Virginia that rates schools. So we're waiting to see the rating. Yep. So
I admit to not understanding it.
yes.
Great.
Look, we're still waiting to see it ourselves. So once we get that rating and all those scores and stuff come out, then you can kind of see. But we do have the VAL scores out, and also just where our students, how they were, where they started and where they are now. And they just had so much growth. Right. And so I feel like a lot of times people want to just look at the test scores, but they forget about growth, because growth is huge. Mm-hmm. Seeing a student grow one full grade or more than one full grade level is amazing, and especially when you have different things different challenges that they face. But I would say, like I said, stick our school, you won't be sorry. A lot of people have rumors, like this school or that school. But I feel like one thing my dad always taught me is you never listen to what other people say about someone. You always learn for yourself. And that's what I would encourage anybody. Instead of listening to what the naysayers say about our schools, come and find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like the school board has, do you have like this is our plan for improving things? And, we know for the next several years, like we want to try and implement this, and then we, to address different things. Is there a plan out there for that?
Yes, we have our strategic plan that goes to 2027, and that we have different pillars. Like we have culture of caring. We talk about our staff, and under the pillars, there are different things that we're focusing on. And so during our retreat, we spoke about the major things that we want to focus on, and attendance was huge. And
I hear that's a problem, but it's not limited to Manassas.
No, it isn't. It's just a problem, I feel like, across the country, right?
Kids just don't show up.
They don't show up. And I know that, if you were to take one school and say this school, but what we are doing is we are making sure we have things in place, and we want to build relationships with those students, figuring out what is causing them not to come to school. Right. Is there something we can do to help them? So we do have that in place, and they also have a lot of our staff that we want to build them up, instead of, pulling people off from other districts to come and work for us, we're wanting to build up our staff with admin. Yes, which I think is so important with you building your own people. It does. So
we do that here.
Right, which is great, right? And you see that because they're more invested. Yeah. You're going to be invested in a place that you've already given years to.
But this is like the chronic absenteeism. I mean, I read that, basically, it seems like it's across the country, but the article I was reading concerned Northern Virginia in general. Yes. And, there's some pretty wealthy jurisdictions in there. They seem like they're having the same problems. Is this an outflow from COVID, or what do you think?
I think that has to do with technology. I really do. Yeah. I think so, because I feel like the kids, they're up all night probably on their phones, or, parents have to just be more proactive. I'd always told my kids, I said, if I'm going to work, you're going to school. Right. We don't have these excuses, right. No. Well, Mom, no. Right. I go to work, you go to school. Right. And I'm not saying, and a lot of our families, I will say, some have different excuses. There's other things that prevent them from coming to school consistently. But we do have a plan in place to make sure, especially our Osborne High School is the one that we're really kind of pinpointing.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, those kids are a little old.
Right. So you can't blame the parents anymore, right? Because a lot of them drive.
Right.
But we definitely have a plan in place. But I will say our strategic plan is something that we are focused on. During our retreat, we all were able to give some of the things that we felt like we need to focus on. One major thing, and I had proposed this, is to making sure that our school board meetings are more accessible to our families who don't speak English. And so that's something that we're focusing on. I would say,
you guys stream the meetings?
We do stream our meetings, but we wanted to give access to parents, if they wanted to come to the meeting and not have to just watch it online.
Right.
So that was another thing. We also wanted to make sure that all our schools are kind of when they do activities, everybody knows about them. So just making sure our calendars are updated consistently was one big thing. And so we're working on that. And I think those were our major things, and just making sure academic performance is at the top of our thing, because academic performance means a lot. It really does.
I mean, if you don't have a demand for excellence, you're just not going to get there from here. I mean, that's culture, right?
Yep.
You have to build that. I mean, that's one of the things that we focus a lot here in my business is, the culture is crucial. the team is
Yes.
crucial. And, I only have 10 people here. You guys have 1,000 or
Right.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's just so strange. I mean, it's so foreign to me, right? There was never a question. If I felt sick and my mom would like check my head and she was like, "Boy, get dressed.
Right.
You're going to school."
Right.
And it was never a.
No.
It's just so foreign to me. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a different time, right?
I think it is. I do. And I mean, we just want to encourage our students also to have a relationship with those teachers in their school, because I feel like that's the other thing. The piece that's missing, probably it's not just our schools, the other schools too, is that kids sometimes don't feel motivated to go because maybe they don't have a relationship with their the staff of the school. So there's no one there that they look forward to seeing. So I think that's the other thing, why you don't see it as much in elementary school, because kids get excited. Oh my gosh, I get to see my teacher.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that we're trying to build, just that community. So, I feel like when we were talking about it during the retreat about what were our priorities, everyone seemed to be on the same page, which was very encouraging.
That's good.
Yeah. So it was good to see that we all want, the same things. One major thing that I wanted, just me personally, was to make sure that we're giving the community a voice to share with us and talk to us consistently. Because I know that was always a concern when I was talking the campaign trail. People were like, well, we really want to share. We want to share, and we don't feel like we have a place. So that's one thing that we're trying to work on, to give the community not just that time where they can talk to us and we don't say anything, but a time where we can talk back to you too, Because I know for me, like if I get up there, I'm like saying something and then nobody says anything back, I'm like, okay, are they even going to email me? So that's one major thing.
Like a town hall.
Right, a town hall meeting. Yeah. So that's one thing we hope to do in the beginning. And I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this about the collective bargaining and all that. But one major thing.
There.
Yes. Oh, okay. So you have that on the list. One thing that we're doing the meet and confer was on our list of making sure our staff feels comfortable and sharing stuff. So that was also a list of our priorities.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. I mean, town hall meetings can be interesting. The first one we had when I was elected, we had it at Hayden, and there was a lady. So it's the whole city council and a bunch of the staff. Chief of police is there, community development, all those guys. And this lady comes up to the microphone and she says, it really irritates me that, because Hayden has that big field, or they used to, in the back, kind of, right? It irritates me because like people will come up to like the back of our property, which joins Hayden, and like they'll pee on our back fence, and it's just it's really nasty. And the chief of police steps up and he says, "Well, ma'am, you just call us, and when he's there, and we'll come right over." And she goes, "Oh, he's here now." And you can see the chief like, what
do I do? What do I say?
Okay, let's go. And, he got his wits about him and marched off, and they arrested him.
Oh my goodness.
It was wild.
That's really wild.
It was wild. I mean, you hear all sorts of stuff about that. And
yeah.
it's just people's concerns, right? That's what it is.
Right.
But sometimes it can be a little different.
It can be. And the other priority that we had, and I'm sure you've heard about this, is the alternative school that we wanted to create. So that way our students, that our students, and also buying that property that we use as our central office. So we're hoping that goes
I don't love that idea. I'll be honest with you.
Oh,
I don't love it.
Oh my goodness. We've been trying for years to get that. So I'm hoping, I mean,
I'm not going to show up with a picket sign.
Right.
I don't
right. But the funny thing is,
I'm also not involved. So.
Well, the funny thing is people say, okay, they don't like it, but then what's our alternative, So like we need somewhere where we can house the staff consistently and not have to pay rent. So that's one of the major priorities, is having a stomping ground, and also, a global place for our students and our families to be able to come and get screened. We don't have anything like that now.
Right.
So that's the other thing, was on our priorities. In addition to that, and I'm sure you've heard about the new school or online school that we just acquired. So Virginia Virtual Academy, we just signed a contract with, or voted to say that we're going to sign a contract with them to provide virtual learning as well. So that's another.
Everybody hated that coming out of COVID.
Well, it's not. It's what we're focused we actually have something like that already. They are partnering with us. They already have it in system. The great thing is that we'll get revenue from it because we have, I think, about 58 kids that already are part of them, but they are outsourced. So if we partner with them, we will start to get that revenue back into our system. So it's a win-win for us. So we don't have to do anything with it. They do everything. We just partner with them.
So it's available for all the kids, or like people have to apply? Or?
They have to get superintendent's approval in order to, Okay. Now, there are families that already are part of it because they had done it previously, but if they say they're in the school system now and they're like, well, I want to homeschool my kids or I want to do, they would have to get superintendent's approval in order to do that.
I know you weren't in office at the time, but do you feel like the whole COVID thing is behind you guys?
I think so. I mean, as a teacher and living that and having to teach.
That's right.
I taught online. I think it is, but I think
is that being a nightmare as it seemed like?
Let me tell you, as a mom of 3 kids who had to also do school while I'm at home, that was the nightmare.
Never ended.
Right. It was. I had to go into my bedroom and close my door because my kids, Mommy, you're too loud. I have to do my schooling too. My son's in his room. My daughters were in their like separate places. That was the hard part. Right. Now, as far as a teacher, I was an ESOL teacher at the time. It was tough because our ESOL learners really need hands-on.
Right.
Doing things online was just not effective for them. And we have a lot of setbacks because of that. Because how can you effectively teach a student who doesn't know the language or doesn't know it efficiently, and then on top of it, they're doing online? It just didn't mix. So I know that we'll be prepared if there ever comes a time. So we won't have to like learn how to do it, but it wasn't an ideal learning environment for our kids. It wasn't. And
it had to be put together fast, and
we had to do what we had to do.
Well, and no one is conditioned to do it. Right? No, we have never done something like that. Yeah, you had some kids that did online learning, right? And people that are younger these days are used to doing online learning.
Right.
A lot of our guys, the techs, when they start, they're younger. We just had one start. I think she is doing George Mason online in the evening.
Right.
And so they're kind of used to it, right?
Right.
But kids, especially 8, 9, 10, 12, that's almost impossible, I feel like.
It is, and their attention span. I had to move them. Like, we had this program where I would have to monitor what they were doing while I was teaching them. And if they were on YouTube or something else, I had to exit them out and put them on something else. That was the hard part. And then they made it optional for teenagers, because I was a high school ESOL teacher at the time. They made it optional towards the end of 2020. And I was like, how are you going to make it optional? They're not going to show up. No. These kids, you tell me I don't have to go to school and it's optional, I'm not going to get penalized, I'm not coming. So
100%. I think that's exactly what they did.
That's what they did. So, but to reiterate, Virginia Virtual Academy is a program that's already been up and running, and they're partnering with us. And what it's going to be is to filter our alternative ed students there too. So they have an actual teacher and everything, and it's an option. It gives us an option. And they'll have their own power school. So they're not a part of our actual schools. They're their own school. Okay. So yeah. So it's a little different. But I think that was part of our priorities too, is to get that up and running. And I think all of us, it was a unanimous vote. So all of us were in agreement with it.
And what's your alternative school?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So we are working on that, in the process of it. And what it would do is, currently, if we have alternative ed students or students who are not able to attend school for behavior reasons, or they're deemed that they need to go to alternative school, we have previously put them in the Prince William County's alternative school that they have, but they only give us like 20 slots. So what ends up happening is our kids who can't go there are at home. And so our alternative school will give them a place to go. They would actually be housed at the central office, like a floor there, because if we own the building, we're able to do that. And we'll have like I would say a proctor or someone who's there to teach them. They would have the same encore if it's younger students, and we can take younger students too, because I don't want to get the name of it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Pace. I'm getting that name wrong, I believe, but Prince William has an alternative school.
Called Pace?
Yes, I think it's Pace West.
I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. But if I'm saying that wrong, forgive me. But they have an alternative school, and we have a partnership with them, but they only give us about 20 slots.
Right.
And it also doesn't go young. So I think it starts only at a certain age.
Right.
So then that means our younger kids don't have a place to go. Right. So we actually agreed to it. All of us are in agreement that we need that, and that's our goal for the 2025-2026 school year.
So that building,
like that.
You're not going to be able to hold all that many kids in there, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, I know that projection was usually about 40, so it wasn't a huge amount of kids, but it's to give them an actual place to go, because as you know, most students who are dealing with similar things like that, it is hard for them to be at home, or maybe their parents can't be at home. There's so many different situations, so it's just to give them a place to go. So yeah, and of course, I'm not the expert on it. I would, if you want more information about that, I would talk to Dr. Newman, because he's better.
I'll let you guys sort it out first.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll ask him to come on here.
Yeah, I think.
So everyone's going to murder me if I don't ask you. Yes. Why don't you use the old police station? Because I will not be able to live in town if I don't ask you this question.
Oh my goodness! Now I will tell you, I voted for us to use the building that we currently have and it was crazy because I was like, okay, everyone wants this. But I think that location for the police station would be great because of where it's located.
Right.
But when I was told what we would have to do to renovate it, it would cost, it's very expensive. Yeah. And it wasn't going to give us the space we needed in order to do what we needed to do. Yeah. That's what I was told. And so I was like, okay. So when you get more details, you put your hands up and you're like, okay.
No, I'm not. It's just,
yeah, but I love the location.
People will run me out of town.
No, I understand. And it's funny because when I go, because my son was going to Mayfield, when I go past Mayfield or go towards there, I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this location is wonderful.
Yeah, the location is perfect.
It's perfect near the middle school, the high school, and the intermediate. I mean, but I think that was the consensus that the reason why they did not want to use that building is because not the location, but the cost behind it and the renovation. Yeah,
I feel like at some point it's probably going to be cheaper for the city to knock it down and use it for something else.
Right. I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Lord only knows.
Right. We'll see.
I admit to not being wild about the council buying all the land they bought. I understand. I had Mark Wolf on, and he explained it all. And Mark and I served together, and I understand. Sometimes it's a target of opportunity, and you just swallow hard and vote.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a changing landscape. And you guys have like Dean. They've started Dean, haven't they?
Yes, they've started construction on Dean. And I believe it's going really well. It's on time, on budget, as we say that a lot, on time and on budget. And also the walkway between the Johnson Learning Center and Osborne is also it's under budget and on time, which is good. Yeah, and we've done some different renovations and different things for the summer. So I feel like we're going in the right direction, definitely.
So are you going to knock down the old Dean?
So the old Dean, that is a huge discussion.
Oh, is it?
It is.
I had no idea, honestly.
So for me personally, we were hoping that we could renovate it and maybe, use it for some other things. But I think that the consensus is that the city council...
learning.
Yes. And I actually had a friend of mine who came to me and asked about that. I met someone in the community who wanted to use it for our alternative learning. Right. But because city council, I think, is moving towards the lines of knocking it down. But don't quote me on that either.
You never know.
I never know, but I do believe they're going to have, before all that's finalized, they're going to have a town hall for public discussion so that people can at least, voice their concerns on it. We definitely suggested that because we wanted to make sure people don't feel like we're doing this and not asking them.
Well, you don't want to waste an asset. It's old. It was, I'm almost 60 years old. That was my middle school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was 40 years ago almost.
Right.
And
So
it was pretty old then.
right. So yeah. So it's interesting because I think that parts of it is on a historic site, and I think they're still waiting to see what parts, and that'll determine what they end up doing it with it. So I don't know. I know what I've heard, but I don't know what's going to actually happen.
I don't
Let's
feel
say
like that building's historical. My dad used to say it's hysterical, not historical.
Oh my goodness.
My mom hated that.
No, right. So I guess we'll just see. But everything is on target with our new building, and I'm excited about it. It's going to look beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the pictures they show us. And it's going to be kind of like a walk down memory lane because there's going to have gorgeous pictures in memory of Jenny Dean, and it's going to be definitely a great building. I think
Now,
a lot
are you
of
going to
people will
move
like
the
that.
Jenny Dean Monument somewhere else?
So I'm not sure about that either. I don't know how that. Yeah, I would love to answer those questions. I could get that information for you though. I can definitely. Yeah.
I just wonder, like, had there been any discussion? I would be shocked if anyone wanted to move it. I've got
Right.
no fight with it. I just
Right. I doubted that. I know when I heard that they thought about, tearing it down and everything, I was kind of sad about that. And that when I had told my the community member about it, and he was kind of sad about it too. Cause he had like all these plans to like, change it into so it's okay. Cause I guess that's what the city wants. The city council wants. So.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't know if the school board wants that, but I know the city council wants. That seems to be what they want. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel
we'll
like
see what happens.
They've done a lot of work on that park behind there. They got a bunch of pickleball.
It's beautiful.
courts.
Yes.
I was blown away.
Oh, I encourage everybody to go see that.
I know that like the GMBL people, they're all unhappy. And I don't know really. I had Lynn on and she talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the city is thinking about it.
Yeah.
My guess is that they're not really eager to have an in-depth discussion about it because nobody's going to be happy.
No, and I haven't even heard the updates on GMBL. No, and I feel like that's the same with Jenny Dean. Like nothing has been set in stone, so it's hard to really give firm answers. But I am curious to see what the community thinks about it, know, because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of different voices and people think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you always want to be careful, right?
Yeah.
You knock down the old Dean School that we're currently using,
Mm-hmm.
and like you turn it into a park or something. You're going to have a very hard time convincing the community in 5 years that, well, we really need to build this building here and it's already a park. And people are going to be like, hey, you have lost your mind.
Right.
We are not doing it.
Right. Basically, don't go back on what you
Right.
decided. If you're going
Right.
to do this, you're going to stick with it.
Right.
I will say, though, what talks were is that the building was it needed so many renovations to be
believe it.
up to code. And so it would have been more money than it's
I
worth
believe
kind
it.
of thing.
Like I said, it was pretty old when
Yeah.
I was a kid. So
I think that was the other thing because we had talked about doing renovations. They're like, it's going to be too much money.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So tell me about you brought it up, not me. tell me about this. So I admit to knowing not a lot about. I have no experience with unionization.
Right.
I've never worked for a very large company, so I really don't have any sort of experience with it. And I mean, I get the idea. I know what it is. I don't know a lot about it, especially when it comes to like public sector unions.
Right. I will say, okay, so here's a little background for you about me. When I worked in Manassas Park, I was a active member of my education association in Manassas Park. I was one of a representative, then I became the treasurer, and I helped with the president and everything. But it was a very small district. I mean,
Right,
Manassas
right.
Park's super small, right? 4 schools. So fast forward to now, I'm in Prince William County. I'm also part of the PWEA because I believe in teachers being represented and protected. Say if someone were to say something and it's your word against theirs, they give you lawyers, they help you and protect you. Now, collective bargaining as a whole, I feel like there's a place for it depending on the district. So as we talked about it as a school board, we decided based on the monetary value or the monetary expense that it would take, the amount of employees we would have to hire, and what it would cost, and how we wouldn't be really at the table. We would have mediators, and we decided, because our district is so small and we are so willing to talk to whoever, our superintendent is so willing to talk to education association representatives and we now do like an email chain kind of thing where they'll email him, he'll email us the questions so we can see. And that has been really good because it's just an accountability thing and also transparency. And then we have the meet and confer. So the reason why we came up with the resolution was not because we don't want the staff to have a voice. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's what it means. That's what it means, right? No. That's not why we came up with that. It was because we right now cannot afford to do collective bargaining as a school district. It will cripple our budget.
Right. And
it will not allow, right now, the things that they want, we've given them. We've given, raises. A significant raise, almost comparable to PWCS, which is such a big district. Why are we even competing with them? I don't know, but we try to do this,
Yeah.
Right. We have done anything that they've asked or they've shared with us. We have listened, given answers, been receptive. If you were to see us in the community, which we are, as a school board, we're always in the community. We're always going to events. We're an open voice. Not all school boards are like that.
Right.
And so my standing with it is if we ever get to the point as a school board, we aren't approachable. We aren't able to give the things that we need. Perhaps collective bargaining would be an option. But right now, I don't believe that it's the best option for our school district.
Was the board unanimous on that?
We weren't unanimous. We had a few that did not agree, but it was a 5-2.
Oh,
vote.
So it was.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And it's funny because when we talked about it, it seemed like everyone was unanimous. But when you start to get you get up there, everybody starts changing. But that's their opinion. Everyone are entitled to their opinion. But I just want to make that clear that it's not, because a lot of people will say that because I'm benefiting from collective bargaining as a pre-WCS employee, that why would I not support it in Manassas City?
Well, you have a different job.
I do have a different job, and we also have a different district.
Yeah.
It is smaller.
Prince William County is 10 times bigger than we are.
Thank you. And they also have taxing authority. They get a certain amount of money from Prince William. We don't get that. So that's the other thing. So I would say that, and I've always said this, that it has by no means says that we don't support our teachers, that we don't want to know what their concerns are, that we don't want to meet them where they're at and make sure that they are comfortable in their schools. No. But there are some non-negotiables that we can't get around.
Yeah.
And, sometimes staff doesn't understand that. And I know, you think, I got to change it. We got to be reasonable too. So
didn't you guys give like a 7% raise or something?
It was 6.5% or 6.8, something like that.
I mean, it's pretty decent.
That's it. And the funny thing is, we were doing the math. We were looking at scores, and usually people don't get more than like 2 to 4% a year, and sometimes nothing. So when you ask people like, well, when's the last time you got a raise? Oh, I don't even know. And but teaching's a different
it is.
It's a different beast. So
it's an art and a calling. All of that.
It is. But that's. I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah. Well, so you guys passed like a resolution that basically said we're not doing it. Is that just for this year, or do you plan to revisit that with any regularity? Or?
So we right now are going to just leave it there, and then if they are still able to give us a letter saying they want to do collective bargaining, so what we did is we wanted to have something in place just in case they did it. And so that was the other thing that the MEA was, getting upset about or whatever. They were saying that we started the thing.
Right.
But because we heard that this is what they, intended on doing, we wanted to be prepared.
Sure.
And we wanted to look at our finances, not because we were pressured to do it, but because we were going to look at it with the same, a sound mind. When we looked at it with a sound mind, when we looked at, what would it entail, we talked to our lawyers, we talked to, the staff and everybody, that's when we made the decision. So, yeah.
Did you get a lot of heat?
We did.
Did you really?
We did. We got a lot of heat. We had a lot of people show up. But on both sides of the spectrum, we had people who have been in unions and who said that, we had one community member. He was talking about how, during COVID, he stood against taking the shot and his union didn't protect him and he lost his job. So, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Unions can help and sometimes
Right.
they can't. So
Right.
you take a risk. You really take a risk because if you're paying these dues, you're hoping that they're presenting what you feel, but not all the times do they.
Yeah.
They may not. And that's the thing that we wanted them to understand, that are you speaking for everybody? Or are you only speaking for 5 people?
Right.
So
Yeah,
that was
'cause
the other thing.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of, I've heard from a lot of people. I mean, you get that a lot,
Right.
So what's the thing that really, in the time you've been on the school board, what's the thing that surprised you the most?
I would say the thing that surprised me the most is the way that you have the chain of command. Because in your mind, when you're campaigning, you're thinking, I'm going to go right there and I'm going to change this, and this.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, Dayna. No. You got to go here first.
Yeah.
Then you got to go here. And then you got to go here. And so I was like, oh. So that's made me, I feel like, have more patience. Not be so compulsive. Because I'm one of those, like, you told me it was a problem. Let's get it done.
Right.
So then I'm like, if you can craft an email for me, I will share with the superintendent. So that, and it's helped me also to not fight battles that may not need to be fought. You know what I mean? And also direct them into the right. And sometimes when you tell people that they have to write an email, you don't hear from them.
Right.
So was it really that important? You know what I mean? So, but everyone has, at the time, everything is important. And I know for me,
Sure.
Everything's urgency. But it's helped me to be able to understand the way we do things.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the hardest part for me. But
yeah, no, that kind of mimics my experience. Right, you come in and you're freshly elected, and the people have spoken, and you try to get all that stuff done, but that's not a lot of it's not a thing, and you spend the first 4, 5, 6 months learning how it all works. And, that's important.
it really is. And I feel like that's also been something, because like I want to say something. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say anything.
Right.
Picking what is important to share, and also walking back your words, because that is tough. Because wait a minute, I didn't know that's how it sounded. I'm so sorry. I did not mean it that way. Because as a public official, you can't just say whatever.
No.
You can't. No. You can't just, and people will take it.
You have to be careful.
You really have to be careful. So that's been hard. And then also being a mom and knowing that, your relationship with the school that your kid goes to is a little different.
Yeah.
Because they don't see you as mom of Zach Miles.
That's right. That's right. Well, and you also have to be so careful to avoid any appearance of like you're interfering in that stuff. That's a big, big deal.
It is.
I've seen that.
It is something I'm learning, and because I'm a mama bear.
Yeah, sure.
And so, but I think for me, so it has been learning. But the one thing that I would say that, I learned that, but the one thing that's been the greatest is just getting to know the people in the community, and going to the different events and seeing how much people care about their families and how they show up for their family and show up for their kids. I love that.
It always surprised me how much more, like for city council, I was out at least 3 nights a week and sometimes 4. But those were like city meetings, town hall meetings. It always surprised me how many events school board members go to that are just like, hey, I'm at the basketball game, or hey, I'm here. And I would be like, there's no chance I would be doing all of that.
Right.
It eats your whole life.
It really does. And I will say this has been, like, my kids are like, Mom, you have something to go to tonight too? I'm like, I'm just going to the game. But it's nice because I could bring my kids if I want to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, hey, you guys want to come? No, Mom, we're good. I'm like, okay. Don't say it next. But I mean, I feel like, though, the one thing that's unique about Manassas City School Board that I've never seen any other school board, because I've been in different schools, is that you see us. we're going to these events.
Right.
They know our names.
Right.
In other school boards, I didn't know who the school board members were. What are their names again? So
I think they're also lucky. Like, it seems like the school board members, they're probably closer in age.
Yeah.
When I was elected, I was 20 years younger than the next member.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm the young one. I will say I'm the young one in the group. So I get what you're saying.
I mean, it was me and another guy who got elected at the same time. We were both about 39, something like that.
Right.
And the next guys were in their late 50s,
right.
60s, and just entirely different places in their lives. Mm-hmm. But, we did the council. I think the city manager at the time sensed like he had a problem. And he hired this company to do the personality testing. And that worked. It really did. I mean, I was blown away.
What is it called? Because we did Fierce Conversations. Is that?
I think it was called, I don't even know if it's a thing anymore, but I think it was called Emergenetics.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Because we were doing the personality test, and then they put us in groups, like at our retreat.
Right.
Yeah. Of who has the same personality. And it's funny. It's like, yeah, I could see that.
So, we were so much younger, and I was a very different person than a lot of the people that are on the council. And I took that thing, and the consultant called me, and she said, "We need to talk. Before we go on this retreat, you and I need to sit down and talk, because I need to help you understand how to work with these people."
Oh, wow.
Because my profile was 180 degrees from everybody else.
Right. You're over here, they're here.
Yeah. And
do you think it's generations too, like a generational gap?
I think it's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it's also, I had my business for a minute, mm-hmm. and I was still very much in the shoot first, ask questions later, and I brought that right into City Hall.
Right.
And the other guys, that was back when a lot of those guys had already been in office 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
And so, the staff brought them stuff and they did things. And I'm like, I don't care about the staff. Here's the things that we need to do. And it really,
they were like, whoa.
Yeah, it really upset the apple cart.
Right.
And, the best thing she did, she's like, you need to think about the way, given your personality profile, when you explain things to people, it's like, you're like 1, 2, 5, 7, 10. And she was like, you've got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. You lose people at about 5.
Right. Wow, I might need to get that information from you. Yeah, because really communication is so huge.
Well,
it is.
I wasn't getting anything done. Right. I was getting hugely frustrated. And after we did that, good, bad, or indifferent, things started to happen because I understood better how to work with those guys.
Right.
When you start your own business, you communicate with your customers, mm-hmm. but everybody else, look, come on, you're getting on board and we're going.
Right. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, that's so interesting though. But I think we have had some roadblocks when it comes to communication. I will say during our work sessions and our retreat was a little, the different things that we've tried. But I think that we're on the up and up, like we're learning each other's work. It does. And the fierce conversations that we did at the retreat was really good. And I feel like it did help. And it helped us understand, okay, this is why us three are like this and all of you are different. Right. We understood, and it helped us have a different perspective. So I totally agree, because I feel like I'm noticing the way that we speak to each other in the beginning and the way we speak to each other now is so different. So
it's a process. It's not something you can just walk in the door and do.
Right.
You just can't.
Right. So
it helped a lot. Yeah. I was. In fact, we do that here. We don't use that particular system. We use a different one, but and it helps, especially because I'm not 20 years old anymore, and a lot of my employees are.
Right.
The more senior people are a little older, but the green beans that come in the door, they're 18, 20, 21, 22. Oh, wow. Right. And having to manage people of that age when you have my background, I'm a Gen X, right?
Right.
I'm the last of the feral children. And these guys aren't.
Right.
And, it's a process.
Right.
There's nothing easy about it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. I would say I thank you so much for having me on the show. Sure. It has been the first time I've talked to anyone since the beginning, like right when I took office. So it's been nice to share and kind of, I think, look back and see, what has been going on or whatever. So thank you.
Yeah, I've been inviting the elected people slowly, and I think a lot of them are kind of like and wait and see.
Right.
Like, what's Harrow going to do to these people?
Yeah.
And the answer is literally nothing.
Right.
I don't have a list of questions.
Yeah.
There's not a piece of paper with the questions here. It's just a discussion.
Right. Yeah.
And it's way better that way.
I agree. I will say it was funny because last night was our school board meeting, and there was quite a long talk about term limits. So that's
really?
Yes, and I would love to hear your take on it because you've been on the council for years. And the one thing that we, as a committee, we decided that we wanted to have, because there's only 3 of us on the committee on, is that policy committee, is that we wanted to have term limits for our chair, just so. Because what we've seen in the past is that the chair is voted each year the same person until they just leave office, and then you're not chair anymore.
Right.
So we wanted to give opportunities for our chair to change, to fluctuate. But it was pretty contentious last night because people were going back and forth, and no one was yelling at each other, but nothing like that. We were all being very high spirited discussion.
Sure.
And the one other thing is, like in Prince William, they rotate their vice chair. Just so that way everyone gets a chance to serve as a vice chair during their tenure.
Right.
And so we didn't have that, so we wanted to add that. But I wonder your thoughts, like with that.
I don't know. I think that rotating the chair is probably I obviously have not asked the current chair her thoughts on this.
Yeah.
But I think it's not a horrible idea.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it's so difficult to get term limits done in Congress, for sure.
Right.
That needs to happen.
Oh, my goodness.
There's people up there 90 years old.
Right, and they've been there for 50, 60, 70 years.
You need to get some new people.
Right.
And I get it. So there's competing pressures, right? Because, when forever we had a guy, Chuck Colgan, who was our state senator here. Chuck was in office forever. And at one point, he was the senior senator. And so what that means is he can steer, projects to Manassas and money for projects to Manassas.
Right.
So
that was helpful though back then,
yeah,
right? Of course.
You
bet.
Yeah. Was he? Was he still? Is that still a good idea? Well, if you lived in Manassas time, it seemed like a real good idea.
Right. Definitely.
So I understand that pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
Too. But I in the state, I feel like the stakes aren't nearly as high as they are in DC, right? I think the idea of having the chair, serve one term and then you're out, and then you're eligible again, something like that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because it was just the way that we had it worded is that it's 2 years in a 4-year term. You get 2 years as chair. And then, if you get reelected, you can get 2 more years. Right. But not to have the same chair for all 4 years, but to give so that it gives room for newness. And because the other thing with chair in general, they get the ear of the superintendent. They are able to communicate. And so it's just to kind of break up the monotony of it. But some of our members agreed with this and some don't. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we vote because that's going to be the vote next time.
So in the council, we had a debate kind of like this. The mayor doesn't vote unless there's a tie.
Right.
And the mayor cannot vote on ties for fiscal matters.
Oh, interesting.
If memory serves.
Right.
And the mayor at the time asked the council to consider changing that. And we had a pretty contentious debate about it.
Right.
I didn't like it. I thought the mayor should not vote
right.
because it gives him a different perspective and a different perch.
Right.
And thunderstorms. So it was a lot. It was the same sort of discussion.
Right.
But in the end, we elected not to do it.
Gotcha.
And I still think it's for the best.
Right.
But, term limits for the mayor, I don't know. It's not, I don't feel like that's a horrible idea either.
Yeah. And the thing is, I feel like we just wanted to give everyone an unequal opportunity because it's tough because when you have one chair in there, they keep voting them in over year after year. And it shows that that's happened historically in Manassas City.
Well,
so
it's path of least resistance.
So we'll see what happens. I'm interested. We didn't think that we were going to get so much contention on it, but it seemed to be a very hot button topic last night at our meeting. So
people don't love change.
They don't, and of course we got 3 new school board members. So
well, especially it's like if you feel like the current chair is doing a good job, you're going to be like, no, we don't need to do that. Right. But so there's a lot of different angles.
It is, and I didn't want it to be a personal attack because it wasn't a performance attack. Even if I was in there and having that, I feel like everyone should get a fair shake. And some people won't do it because, she's doing a good job, and they will never go to their fullest potential.
Yeah.
And maybe things would be different. I don't know. It's just to give a variety and new ideas. A fresh perspective on things. Well,
it's at least worth a discussion.
Right.
Maybe it never comes to fruition.
Maybe not.
But
at least we try.
It's not a bad idea,
yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm thinking that we're going to have, we'll see how the vote goes. But but I wanted to mention that because that was pretty hot.
That's interesting.
Last night. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had not thought of that. My only analog for that is the mayor having a vote. And I was never a fan of it. And,
right.
It didn't. The mayor at the time wasn't especially fond of my position, but I think that keeping it that way is okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but term limits for elected officials in general, I don't know. I mean, it's not. I don't feel like it's as much of a problem at the local level.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah, as the higher. But yes, I agree with you with the congressmen and senators. Like, there's some people that just need to, let new people. And the thing is, if you keep staying there, who's going to step up?
Yeah.
No one's going to step up because you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 90 years old.
It's like you got a cane and a walker.
Well, a lot of them are pretty wealthy.
Right.
It's like, right, man, just retire.
Right. Go live your life with your family. I mean,
I guess power's addicting, though.
That is.
Especially at that level.
And what are they going to do? Because this is what they've known.
Yeah.
They've known this for all their lives.
Yeah. That's a fact.
It's so true. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad I've never met you before. I'm glad we had a chance to meet and chat. And
me too.
We'll put this up in, I don't know, some point next week, I feel like. And
sounds good. Sounds
good. All right, thank you again.
Thank you.